So I was really curious to hear from you about any insights you've had now that you've been involved in the Synergy Project for over 2 years, and you've been working through the concepts, processes, and tools in our community. You know, kind of what insights have you had? What new thinking or aha moments could you kind of tell me about? I'd love to hear more about that.
Well, I think first off, it's been a great experience. It really has to look at tools and to get some resources and concepts that are out there. You see them almost every day and you work with them, but to put them into the context of a project itself or an activity that is not not really your project or your center's project, but it's maybe an activity within it, as opposed to thinking of the whole. It has been it's been great to use those tools, but I would have to say that one of the aha moments for us was when we were tasked to write our own story, and that piece was critical for us because we're in the material science world. We're the National Resource Center for Materials Technology Education. So we think materials, of course, materials are everywhere. So there isn't a time that we talk about it that we don't talk about materials. So for us, it's a natural to be excited about it, to talk about it. But we found out quickly that not everybody is excited about it, and not everybody really understands it, and not really everybody holds our love and passion that we have for it, although they were interested in it because it does touch their daily lives. So when we were writing our promotions and our marketing pieces for our activity, which is the National Educators Workshop, we realized quickly that we could very, very quickly overwhelm people. We would be talking and the glaze would come on and we would say, okay, there's something going on here. So we tried to do an elevator speech, and we realized with that too, it was a very formal setting again. So when Ty, the storyteller, was brought on board, we started looking at it as a story instead of a science. And so it really helped us be creative in how we wanted to share what we do. So that became our aha moment when we started sharing that, and people were not glazing over, people were asking questions, people were saying, oh, does that mean, you know? So for us, we started doing that piece, and that really helped us. It also helped keep us focused, because when you start doing these things on materials or other areas, you can get into the scope creep situation where you start to talk about lots of other things, and of course, then again, people glaze over. So for us, one of our moments was that piece, was being able to tell our story and not make it sound like a Toastmaster, if you will. No offense to Toastmasters, but a Toastmaster speech.
Yeah,
you know?
So when Ty demonstrated, you know, sort of, and I think the other speakers, the Native American women who also spoke about story, also talked about the elements of story. Was that something that was useful to you in sort of getting you off the standard script of that elevator pitch?
Yes.
And you know, because I think with story, it's so interesting. A story has like beginning, middle, and end, and usually some like emotional hook, you know, or there's a plot, you know, and people get engaged. There's a point of entry in story that I think it's a really cool point that you guys got, is like sort of switching your approach around, really learning how, it sounds to me, that you can engage people in a new way with story. And it doesn't have to be sort of the standard process that everyone uses, like the elevator pitch. You know, that's really neat.
Exactly, and I think that was the piece that we, and you bring up a good point, because we would start to talk about it, and then we go on and on, because this is something we were passionate about, but it wasn't reflective in the audience. And so we had to identify the audience. Okay, so the elevator speech works really well when you're talking to your administrators, when you're talking to, you know, some of these folks that you're trying to make someone you know, and you're trying to do some data collection, or you're trying to get some support, administrative support on something. That's what they understand, and that's really how you would approach them. On the other hand, when you're walking down the street and somebody says, what do you do, or how does it affect, that's where the story part comes in, because sometimes you only have a window of 45 seconds to say something, and that really you get the beginning, middle, and the end, and you bring closure to it, and you don't walk away thinking, did I finish my thought, or I hope they got it, you know. And so it was one of those things where people were nodding, going, wow, that's really cool. So you teach students about, you know. And so that was the cool part, where we started opening up the doors to that. But along with that, we also, the other aha moment was when we realized that many of the ATE centers deal with products and whatnot within like manufacturing, engineering technology, GPS, GIS, those types of things, their electronics, their manufacturing, and those kinds of things, they're dealing with materials but in a different way. So they're more interested in the final product. We're more interested in the materials. So we then became a resource center to them if they needed assistance. So we developed a community within a community.
I love it.
Of what we can do with them. And so they'll call us and say, hey, we're doing a workshop in this. Do you have any information on some of the materials that go into this? And we can help them with that. Now, that doesn't mean we're doing their work for them. It just means we've become a resource, just as if we would for any college, community, high school, industry partner that would contact us and say, hey, do you have any information on this in this area? So I think that in itself was another aha moment when we started sharing information without being concerned about it being competitive, because we're all centers and we go for the same money from the same bucket. But we were sharing information. We created this community, and I know we call it a community of practice, but I think by informalizing our speech and our elevator thoughts of ourselves into a story, we became more open to being more friendly and more developing community connections, if you will, with some of our fellow folks, some of our fellow centers who we work with all the time, but on a different level. So it kind of brought us to a whole another level of understanding and communication and partnering and that kind of thing. And collaboration is a big one for us. So it really helped in that arena.
That's great to hear, because I know that the leadership on the Synergy Project has talked about the impact that this Synergy Project may have on ATE and the culture of ATE, and making it, lowering that affect, if you will, to have people converse that way and to start sharing and see co-opetition, at the very best. But you're saying it was just nice collaboration. That was not a planned thing, but unexpected benefit to have the community within the community. And it makes sense because you guys are a resource center.
Exactly. And so it created for us, at least, and I think I can share it for our team and for the folks we work with, a really pleasant working environment, because it's no longer in competition. It's more of a cooperation and a competition together. However, we're there to kind of support and to be a resource to folks. And so we've kind of been able to establish a different level of relationship with some of these centers where they're not dependent on us for information, but they're rather more open to receiving information from us if it will help and enhance and expand their offerings and what they're trying to do for their stakeholders.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah. And I hope that I'm sure if I talk to some of the other centers, they'll also have some other insights like that. But I mean, it's great that you probably learned a lot from having those new relationships at that new level too, which, to me is like, gosh, I wish we could capture all the learning from everybody. We're trying, but that's a wonderful aha moment and insight that you guys have had great benefits. So.
And we look forward to, I know our team has talked about it, and the conversations have been going on that, what's the next step for Synergy? And I know our team has said, we want to be involved. We want to be a part of that, because as a resource center, we've been able to really identify our role, more so within NSF, of being that. And now we see it where we could be a community and a mentor to others that are trying to come in and understanding where they fit and where they want to go and how they can become a resource to others as well. So it's been an interesting road. There's been some, some challenges. But I think in the end, in the scheme of things, we've learned a lot, and we've been able to use it. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again, that the tools, the concepts, the ideas that we learned through Synergy, we were able to combine, put together, and submit a unique grant, a proposal to NSF for what we do as a part of our activity, which is the National Educators Workshop, and we received a grant to assist us putting it on.
Congratulations.
So for us, thank you. So for us, we were really able to actually implement everything that we were learning along the way. When we started, we didn't know we were going to do this, by the way. It just kind of evolved, and when the opportunity came up, we said, hey, we've got the logic model, we've got the concepts, we've got the process, we've got the tools, we've got the ideas, we've got this synergy, we've got this community, we've got our aha moment, we can talk about it in a heartbeat, So we did that, and we put all the pieces together, and the puzzle worked. and we were notified that we were awarded this grant. So it was a positive thing for us.
Oh, I love hearing that.
You're welcome. It was great.
Thanks.
You're welcome.